Chapter 13, Refusal. At the security captain's begging for his life, Baek Woo-hyun narrowed his eyes. Only his pure white pupils shone eerily above his shadowed face. He still remembered the atrocities the security captain and his gang had committed. Mocking and beating the test subjects, the things they did to satisfy their vile desires, all of it. How many times have people who didn't need to die because of the security team's vile acts? Knowing all that, the security captain groveling to spare his life felt nothing but utterly revolting to Baek Woo-hyun. Of course, the security captain would have something to say. That this was only a story from that other world, not here. But Baek Woo-hyun could confidently assert that since that other world and a reverse planet were the same world, this bastard wouldn't be much different from the one he remembered. From his very first appearance, he had killed a test subject and mocked that death. KRGH. Did he sense his end in Baek Woo-hyun's gaze? Suddenly the security captain changed his expression. From a pitiful person seeking mercy, to a vicious person who had tormented countless test subjects with selfish desires and pursued personal advancement. Gritting his teeth, he threw a punch at Baek Woo-hyun, who was holding his hair. Die! Because of his posture, proper strength didn't go into it, but the security captain didn't seem to care. Because this attack wasn't just a punch. Soon a blade sprouted from the end of the thrown fist and extended toward Baek Woo-hyun's heart. The security captain's secret weapon hidden until the final moment. Partial body transformation through supernatural ability. Until now, he had taken the throats of enemies who had let their guard down thinking he had no weapon through this. This time would be the same. But if the real security captain had seen Baek Woo-hyun's eyes, that confidence would have vanished entirely. Eyes that went beyond cold to cruel. Not even a bit of carelessness showed there. Only madness and murderous intent crouching in the depths occasionally flashed. Dashed kill him. Dashed tear him to shreds. Kwong. Baek Woo-hyun readily responded to the spectre's howling. He forcefully slammed the security captain's head he had lifted into the floor. With handiwork containing several times more strength than before, a heavy collision sound rang out, and naturally the security captain's extended fist also lost its way. Kwong. Kwong. Kwajik. However, Baek Woo-hyun didn't stop there. As if determined to finish it this time, he continued crashing the security captain's head into the floor. In the space that had become quiet before one knew it, only terrible sounds rang out consecutively. Soon the security captain, who had been trembling, went limp. It was the miserable end of one who had once committed all sorts of atrocities within the research facility. Looking down at the security captain's corpse for a moment, Baek Woo-hyun slowly rose from his position. Finally! We've even taken down the tutorial boss. All that's left is going outside, right? Kang Soil, who had been quietly behind until now, spoke with a deliberately bright face. It was to ventilate the atmosphere that had become eerily chilly. Ah. Now that you mention it. Mooch success is crazy. How about we call it a draw? Ahihi, I definitely asked before starting the mission if it was okay to restart solo instead of in a party. And you guys said no. Kang Soil laughed heartily. Her expression showed not the slightest thought of accepting the viewer's request for a draw. Well, it was natural. When she, in despair at being matched with a no-assist party, requested to retry, how had the viewers responded? Hadn't they firmly rejected her request, mocking her with the absolutely no take-backs, deal with it? Now, when not even an hour has passed since then. She had no intention of missing the opportunity to tease the viewers in return. Then let's go, Woo-hyun Nim. Yes. Let's go. Since they had defeated even the tutorial boss, the security captain, there was nothing to stop Baek Woo-hyun and Kang Soil's escape. The two people climbed the stairs the security captain had been guarding, and succeeded in escaping the research facility that way. It was the moment they stepped into the forest outside the research facility, with bright sunlight pouring down, that system messages came flooding before their eyes. Tutorial mission research facility escape complete. Your level has increased. You have acquired 1 supernatural ability point. Mission success and level up. And the accompanying supernatural ability point acquisition. Baek Woo-hyun skimmed through the system messages as always. In case there might be differences from that other world. But still nothing had changed. Not only the content, but even the words composing it and every exclamation mark were all the same. It proved once again that that other world was based on a reverse planet. Or that the opposite was proven. Well, then dash. Good work. Ah, yes. Good work, Woohyun Nim. Baek Woohyun, who finished the brief greeting, turned around. He intended to move to a suitable location then end the game. Since he learned through this connection that he couldn't cross over to that other world, he needed time to organize his thoughts. Ah. Dash? Where's he going? What is this the end? Hurry and catch him, what are you doing? It was rather Kang Soil and the viewers who were flustered by Baek Woohyun's excessively indifferent attitude. To end so abruptly like this. Wasn't it a situation no one expected? He really doesn't care about broadcasting at all. Wait a moment, Woohyun Nim. Yes. Are you not doing more of the main story today? Yes. I'm thinking of stopping here. Did you have something to say? Today ends here, Tilda. Try to persuade him to do more. She's surprisingly bad at that kind of thing. Not easy. Then I guess it can't be helped. Kang Soil mumbled, unable to find words. Like during the tutorial mission when she couldn't speak properly once he answered, she was the type who shrank back when the stage was set for her. It was like a conditional Lu Bu who would recklessly charge in when competitive spirit arose, but couldn't show that side once she belatedly came to her senses. If Baek Woohyun had at least given a nuance of being more interested in appearing on broadcasts, she would have attempted persuasion, but at a glance he clearly didn't care about such things at all. Would adding friends be okay? We might play together again later. Yes, well, sure. Baek Woohyun didn't refuse Kang Soil's desperate-looking request. It wasn't that difficult a demand, and he wasn't so lacking in leisure that he couldn't do that much for someone resembling a past connection. But his kindness ended exactly there. Having finished adding friends, Baek Woohyun tried to leave immediately as he had before. That is, if Kang Soil hadn't subtly grabbed his arm. She looked up at him with a face that had made some decision. Could you wait just a moment? About 5 minutes would be enough. At Kang Soil asking hesitantly, Baek Woohyun chuckled. Because this too closely resembled a past connection. The other comrades had really adored and cherished her for the way she approached resolutely while afraid of being rejected. Understood. Thank you. Kang Soil bowed her head with a bright face. She turned her head to look at the chat window, earnestly asking him to wait since she'd finished quickly. In an instant, smugness filled her face. All right. With this, the no assist tutorial clear mission is a success. Yay dash. Clap clap clap. Really shameless. If it were me I'd press fail saying I can't acknowledge a mooch. Fake success fake success fake success fake success. Forbes selected broadcaster most delighted by mooching. Aha. Mooching is so sweet tilde the person who set the mission, please press success. If there's no one, I'll press it myself. Mission no assist tutorial clear less than 150,001 success. Thank you. Kang Soil lightly ignored the chat window reactions and bowed straight toward the broadcast camera. No matter what the viewers said, the legitimacy of the victory she had seized wouldn't fade. If only because of the karma they had built up. Actually pressing success. From now on need to add no mooch clause. Why is there a bus driver at exactly this time? Please implement justice. Oh, come to think of it, you guys have never cleared the no assist tutorial, right? But I have tilde from now on, without proof of clearing the tutorial with no assist, training is banned on a replad-related topics tilde. LOL so annoying LOL. To say this after riding the bus. Frustrated? If frustrated go no assist tutorial. Wait I'm going to prove it right now. Kang Soil, who had been grinning and teasing the viewers for a moment, made an oops expression. She recalled the existence of Baek Woohyun waiting beside her. No matter how good an opportunity to tease the viewers, after saying to wait a moment herself, dragging out more time wouldn't do. She swallowed her regret and shook her head. Anyway. Since we cleared the tutorial mission too, today's broadcast ends here. I just got here. Ending late is a bad habit. What, it's already been broadcasting over 10 hours. Part 3 was repla so well. Late stream notifier are donated at 10,001. Sob today's broadcast was fun. Late stream notifier Nim, thank you so much for the donation tilde everyone have a good night, and I plan to stream at the same time tomorrow too, so please come again. Bye bye. Having ended the broadcast, Kang Soil exhaled long. Her expression had become much more comfortable. Even though personal broadcasting looked comfortable from the outside, like all things, it had its own hardships. Having to maintain high energy throughout the broadcast to keep viewers from getting bored, or being careful with verbal mistakes to avoid being archived as controversy on Ant-Wiki. That's why it was inevitable that turning off the broadcast felt more comfortable than turning it on. "Thank you for waiting." Toward King Soil, bowing down to her waist in greeting, Baek Woo-hyun lightly waved his hand. "Not at all. It didn't take very long. Still, you waited. Just not leaving is already something to be grateful for." Kang Soil smiled brightly. Having broadcast for quite a long time and met various types of people, she had seen several times those who said they'd wait but disappeared. Compared to them who vanished for unknown reasons, Baek Woo-hyun, who waited obediently, was like an angel. "More than that, the reason I asked you to wait is because I have a proposal." "A proposal?" "Yes. Would you consider appearing on my broadcast regularly?" "Of course I'll pay an appearance fee." "It won't be much, but fairly substantial." A proposal for regular broadcast appearances. This wasn't a proposal offered simply thinking it would be good on impulse. Kang Soil had closely observed him while proceeding with the tutorial mission with Baek Woo-hyun, and through that time could reach the conclusion this person becomes content just by existing. She wasn't simply talking about excellent physicality. Beyond that, Baek Woo-hyun had a charm that drew people in. A charisma like watching a precariously perched blade, that made one unable to look away all the more. There was also his handsome face contributing, though viewers couldn't see it because of privacy protection mode. Kang Soil knew people who, though the grain was somewhat different, had similar charm to Baek Woo-hyun. Broadcasters called the major corporations. The aura emanating from them, whom she had met a few times, was exactly like that. She'd bet that even if Baek Woo-hyun played other games or lacked gaming skills, many would willingly turn on broadcasts to watch him. Simply because he was that attractive. Broadcast appearances. The content will mainly proceed with reverse planet and main missions, and occasionally taste PvP. Don't worry about the schedule. I can adjust to whatever Woo-hyun Nim wants as much as possible. Kang Soil quickly spoke in a chattering manner. Seeing Baek Woo-hyun's pondering appearance, she seemed to think it was an opportunity. Baek Woo-hyun, who had been listening to Kang Soil's story, stroked his chin with a sunken expression. In his head, the pros and cons of accepting the proposal and the pros and cons of refusing alternated, and soon a proposal buried in a corner also subtly announced its existence. Contemplation that continued for not a short time. At the end of it, the conclusion Baek Woo-hyun reached was, "I'm sorry." Refusal. Chapter 14, Hacker. Kang Soil, who had been refused, let out a sigh. However, it wasn't a reaction of not having expected it. Since she had already seen Baek Woo-hyun's appearance of not caring about broadcasting at all, she had been thinking the probability of refusal was high. That's why she tried to continue persuading rather than giving up in disappointment. Until she made eye contact with Baek Woo-hyun again. Pupils like those of a dead person, where no color of emotion could be felt. Looking at them, one could naturally realize that no matter what one said, there wasn't even a bit of possibility of persuasion. From what Kang Soil had felt while meeting various people, those with such eyes absolutely never bent their decisions through someone's intervention. Thus she refreshingly gave up on persuading Baek Woo-hyun. "I understand. Then if you change your mind, please contact me anytime." "Yes, I understand." I kept you too long, didn't I? It was very fun playing the game together. Have a pleasant reverse planet. Kang Soil, who bowed in greeting, slowly faded and soon disappeared from that spot. She had ended the game. When Kang Soil completely disappeared, Baek Woo-hyun raised his head to look up at the sky. A night sky embroidered full of stars entered his view. A sky that felt even cleaner with not a single cloud visible. A scene he had seen to the point of boredom in that other world. However, it was also a scene he could now only see within this place. Baek Woo-hyun, who had been standing there for quite a long time, lowered his gaze back down. At some point, countless specters had surrounded him without gaps. They gazed at him with eyes shedding bloody tears as always. To someone, it might feel like a scene from a horror movie, but Baek Woo-hyun didn't avoid their gaze and met it. In any case, for him it was merely a brief reunion with dear friends. That's why he didn't get angry about losing himself and being swayed when meeting Kang Soil. Considering the ties built up with them, that much was nothing more than a trivial prank. He asked them with a faint smile. "Do you feel a bit better?" Looking at your expressions, seems it was reasonably okay. Though they were still gaunt and withered faces, Baek Woo-hyun found faint satisfaction among them. Even though it was revenge in a virtual reality game, a false world, it seemed to have given them a fairly pleasant feeling. Like a kind of memorial service for the dead. Then he thought continuing this game wouldn't be too bad either. No, I have no choice but to continue. Baek Woo-hyun's eye shone coldly. Hadn't he more firmly realized the connection point with Over There by playing the Reverse Planet today? Over There and Reverse Planet, which could be called perfectly the same world. Even to unravel the mystery existing between them, he had no choice but to continue playing Reverse Planet. Should I head out too? Having ended Reverse Planet, Baek Woo-hyun came out to the place he had made as a waiting space in the past. Looking around the well-decorated room only briefly. His body, standing alone, slowly faded. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The next morning. Waking from sleep, Baek Woo-hyun felt refreshed for the first time in a very long while. It was a clear awakening that could be said to be the first since returning to reality. Feeling puzzled at the rare occurrence only briefly, he frowned as he checked his smartphone out of habit. Because he saw missed calls and Cocoa Talk messages piled up. Cocoa Talk messages naturally go to 300 plus when people chatter enthusiastically in group chat rooms. In fact, most of the piled up Cocoa Talk messages were from group chat rooms, but what about missed calls? Jong Naeon. Why would she suddenly contact him? And going so far as to call, not satisfied with just Cocoa Talk messages. Baek Woo-hyun, who had been tilting his head in puzzlement, opened the Cocoa Talk chat room with Jong Naeon. He could see that right around when he had been sleeping, she had sent about 10 messages like, "Oh, what's this?" and the very last message was this. Jong Naeon, what the hell have you been doing? What have I been doing? Suddenly. Baek Woo-hyun? Was she awake? Jong Naeon's answer to the brief message Baek Woo-hyun sent came back quickly. Jong Naeon, you played Reply yesterday, right? Baek Woo-hyun. Jong Naeon, I knew it was you, Woo-hyun. Jong Naeon, the name was the same so I thought so. Jong Naeon, right now because of you the entire Reply community is burning up LOL. What is this about? Baek Woo-hyun tilted his head again. The entire community burning because of him. What was that sudden talk supposed to mean? All he did yesterday was at most finish the tutorial mission, and after that he ended the connection right away. Baek Woo-hyun? Jong Naeon, just look. Jong Naeon, link, reasons why the no assist no gun video is hacking.txt. Jong Naeon, they're calling you a hacker LOL. Jong Naeon, emoticon of rabbit bursting into laughter. Hack? Jong Naeon, of course I know it's bullshit. Jong Naeon, what ability would you have to get a hack? Baek Woo-hyun, wait. Let me check it first. Jong Naeon. When Baek Woo-hyun pressed the link posted on Cocoa Talk, HyperNet naturally launched and the problematic post unfolded before his eyes. General, reasons why the no assist no gun video is hacking.txt. Comments, 999 plus views, 115,877 recommendations, 9471. View count heading toward 120,000, recommendations close to 10,000, and comments numbering at least over 1,000. Even Baek Woo-hyun, who hadn't been very active in communities, could recognize these as tremendous numbers at a glance. Thinking that all sorts of things become topics, he skimmed the content for now. General, reasons why the no assist no gun video is hacking.txt. Comments, 999 plus views, 115,877 recommendations, 9471. Baek Woo-hyun explaining why he's a hacker. The hacker's characteristic combat style. The hacker I saw before was exactly like that. That guy also dodged right before being aimed at. Auto-combat hack types are mostly the same. Video, I met an auto-combat hacker. Really amazing. This is an actual broadcaster video that met a hacker, and you can see dodging before shooting here too, right? Unless you're a dev, you'd know, but dodging with timing right before shooting isn't something a person can do. Doing it consecutively makes even less sense. This alone already confirms it's a hack. The reaction shown when first meeting the broadcaster. People who check the broadcast replay will know. The hacker tried to attack as soon as he saw the broadcaster. Seems like he turned off the friend or foe identification function in the hack, so even though they were party members, it judged them as enemies and attempted attack. probably didn't think he'd be partied with someone else since it was no assist lol. Running as soon as the tutorial ended. Running immediately after the tutorial mission ended? LOL. If there's nothing to feel guilty about, why bother? LOL. 3-line summary. Auto combat hack. Seems friend or foe identification function is turned off, or doesn't have it. Ran immediately to avoid being caught hacking. All comments, registration order latest order refresh. This is lol. I also saw a hack video before and it was exactly like this video. Author, you saw the Astra video too? The hacker re-education video was honey fun. Author, added it together in the main text and edited lol. I watched the main text video but it was a bit different. Thinking about it, it's hilarious lol. He deliberately did no assist to secretly use hacks but a broadcaster happens to come with a no assist mission at exactly that time? LOL. From the hacker's perspective, a lightning bolt lololol. That's why he ran immediately lolololol. Taking the friend request in the midst of that is super shameless hair. Planet Earth, these bastards, why aren't they catching hackers? They do catch them but they keep appearing. Look at the official site, they're consistently cracking down on hackers. Most hacks get blocked in a day or two. Since the usage appeared on broadcast, they'll probably ban him soon lol. What? It was a hack? I thought an amateur hidden master popped up for once. 87th attempt at breaking through guards. I'm staying neutral until an official sanction appears. Me too. This is too much of a witch hunt. Bullshit. If this is a witch hunt, 80% of hackers are innocent. Beck Woohyun, who read through everything from the main content to the comments, scratched his cheek. His expression showed a somewhat absurd air. In fact, it was something that couldn't help but upset him. His skills obtained through deadly suffering in that other world were being disparaged as hacking. Even if he hadn't wanted to obtain them. Moreover, even the reasons the main post put forth for him being a hacker were pathetically weak. That the fighting style resembled the hacker seen before, though the only resemblance was dodging, that dodging right before shooting was too difficult for a person to do, that he ran away after finishing. Without any proper physical evidence, just asserting he was a hacker based only on circumstantial evidence. The fact that many comments were agreeing with such an inflammatory post was rather amazing. What process did it go through to become like this? Beck Woohyun, suddenly curious, looked through the hot posts on the relevant community, reverse time. As you could tell from the reaction to the hacker rumor post, the current biggest topic in reverse time was his hacking controversy, so examining the process wasn't very difficult. Just by going back a few pages, he could know the starting point. The story first came up roughly 10 hours ago. That is, when Kang Soil's broadcast was still on. More precisely, a few posts uploaded when Kang Soil was tracking Beck Woohyun and discovered the remains of ethanol's were the starting point. Back then, several viewers had chatted about going to write posts in the community, and there were those who actually put it into action. However, the posts uploaded by impatient viewers didn't get much reaction at that time. Not only were those who went to write posts during the broadcast a minority, but those who went to find the broadcast after seeing the posts didn't return because of Beck Woohyun's appearance. For that reason, this topic seemed to be quietly buried, but what will happen eventually happens. After the broadcast ended and viewers poured out all at once, reverse time became noisy, and Beck Woohyun drew the attention of many. Is this the first post to make it to hot posts? General, broadcaster, no assist, no gun, tutorial mission clear video. Comments, 999 plus views, 175,877 recommendations, 18471. Video, Kang Soil noticing the absence of bullet marks. Video, Beck Woohyun still taking down guards without using guns. Video, Beck Woohyun casually conversing and smashing 2 ethanols in seconds. Video, Beck Woohyun handling the security captain alone. It's a person named Kang Soil's broadcast. A no-assist tutorial clear mission was set and while playing the game, she met this person through party expansion matching. People who know Repla's matching system will know, but naturally this person is also no assist. But the fighting was so amazing I brought it. I don't usually write broadcast-related posts, but I really think everyone needs to see this, setting aside the broadcast. All comments, registration order latest order refresh. Photo, one crazy person appears every week. This isn't at the level of one person every week. If people like this appeared every week, Korea would have monopolized monthly champion wins. Lol. Cannot refute. How to defeat opponents with guns.avi. Just dodge right before they shoot. What? That's nothing. It's so difficult it rather looks simple. What exactly is a Colosseum ranker? Both player battler and this person, what kind of place was Colosseum really? Battler is amazing too, but this person is more impressive. I don't think even pros could do this. The no assist I did wasn't like this. Even if it's an early version, Eternals get smashed that easily. When catching the security captain, it's scary as hell lololol. The aura is insane. Looking used to beating people like that. Hoxie. That industry. Whom? If it was before being known, it would be different. After being known, the reaction couldn't help but be hot. No assist, not using guns, defeating all enemies including the tutorial boss alone. Even in a live broadcast that's recorded on video? In reverse time, a community where only those passionate about Reverse Planet gathered, it would be stranger if it didn't become a topic. While the majority were admiring, several users famous for outstanding skills left posts saying they'd try too and disappeared. And they returned in as short as dozens of minutes, as long as several hours, and left reviews, all containing the opinion the person in the video is a real monster. General, no assist no gun tutorial challenge attempt review. Comments, 751 views, 95,877 recommendations, 7471. After seeing the post uploaded this time, broadcaster, no assist no gun tutorial mission clear video, I also went to try it. To tell you the result first, I failed. I thought the first Eternals were reasonably manageable, but everything after that was the problem. The Eternals are one thing, but the real obstacle is the guards. Dodging before the guards pull the trigger like in the video is really hard. If you dodge even slightly early, the aim follows, and conversely if you dodge late, you just get shot and game over immediately. You have to see it as definitely dying unless it's the exact timing. To succeed at this consecutively. I'm curious to the point of wondering why the person appearing in the video still hasn't debuted as a pro. All comments, registration order latest order refresh. I also tried but rage quit at the first Eternal LOL. Author, I was fairly confident in 1v1 so I somehow got past that part, but I didn't know the rest would be hell. Even dodging shooting once is a miracle. Author, I agree. Just a tutorial and you talk about pro LOL. Do you even know how many monsters are gathered among pros? The author is someone who received pro offers. As far as I know, there are 4 pro teams that made recruitment offers to my gun Shinesnim. Please shut up if you don't know well. Guns are one thing but no assist is crazy. Agree. With no assist even using supernatural abilities is hard. The amazing thing was that through this process, a kind of challenge began trending in reverse time. Chapter 15, Discussion. Because it was human nature to want to try something at least once when people kept making a fuss about how amazing it was. And attempting it wasn't very difficult either. General, no assist no gun challenge is so hard. General, is this even clearable? General, without assist, supernatural abilities won't activate at all? General, 45th attempt at breaking through guards. General, I'm going to try the no assist no gun challenge too. It was from that point that public opinion began to twist. Before trying it directly, it ended with admiration like crazy, but after experiencing it directly, they felt it. Is this really possible for a person? Like that. General, absolutely impossible unless it's a hack. General, 67th attempt at breaking through guards. General, after trying for 3 hours I get it LOL impossible LOL. General, even pros probably can't do this. General, Baek-Woohyun, isn't this a hack? Hack suspicions flowed out from right there. It meant that the appearance Baek-Woohyun showed was at such a superhuman level that it rather drew suspicion. The hot post he first saw, reasons why the no assist no gun video is hacking.txt, was the final destination reached by those suspicions gathering and gathering. TSK. To be suspected of hacking because he's too amazing. Baek-Woohyun, who clicked his tongue, looked at Cocoa talk he had put down for a moment. Baek-Woohyun, I read it all but, it's absurd. Jong Naeon, right? When I first saw it I was so dumbfounded I burst out laughing LOL. Jong Naeon, but setting aside the validity of the controversy. Jong Naeon, have you thought about how you'll respond? Response. Baek-Woohyun tapped his smartphone with his finger. Although there was a 10-year gap, he too had once been one of those who enjoyed virtual reality games. Naturally, he knew how big a controversy it would be when talk of hacks came up. He could feel how big the controversy was just by looking at reverse time. However, he was unclear about whether a response to this was necessary. If he was trying to become a personal broadcaster, or if he was going to be a pro player, he would feel he needed to firmly uproot this hack controversy before proceeding, but that wasn't the case. For an ordinary civilian, wouldn't hack controversies be like affairs of a distant country? Baek Woo-hyun, well, I don't see the need for any response. Jong Naeon, as expected, seems you were thinking of just leaving it. Jong Naeon, let's meet in VR first. Jong Naeon, it'll be too long to talk about in chat. Baek Woo-hyun, got it. Baek Woo-hyun slowly got up from bed. While he thought a response wasn't particularly necessary, he thought there was no need to reject even Jong Naeon's concern. In any case, since he woke up refreshed for the first time in a while, he was thinking of getting up and doing something anyway. I'm here. Yeah. Not long after Baek Woo-hyun, who connected to virtual reality, entered his waiting space, Jong Naeon in workout clothes appeared. Unlike what he had seen at the previous dinner appointment, she raised her hand in greeting while yawning long with a Hwam tilde, her hair roughly tied. Still, perhaps because her appearance fundamentally supported it, rather than looking disheveled, her unpretentious charm shone through. As Baek Woo-hyun also raised his hand in greeting, she moved her steps familiarly and plopped down on the sofa. So what are you going to do? Jong Naeon got straight to the point without beating around the bush. Her attitude was to spill it if he had thought about how to resolve this controversy. What do you mean, what am I going to do? Then you're just leaving it? I'm not going to broadcast like you, and I'm not going to go pro either. I'm just one ordinary user, so even if there's controversy about hacking or whatever, wouldn't it not really matter? That is true. Hearing Baek Woo-hyun's story, Jong Naeon bobbed her head. Because it was indeed as he said. Right now it was a controversy with all communities related to Reverse Planet O burning up, but in about a week it would die down anyway. After another month or so, even those who remembered such a thing happened would become rare. Of course, they would recall it if told, but... So it was a controversy that could be left alone. As long as the person's mental state remained intact. Still, if you're going to keep playing Repla, I think it'd be good to appropriately clarify and move on. Is that so? It's unpleasant to be called a hacker by everyone you meet. If by any chance you get caught on video again later, the hacker talk will definitely come up. Home dash? He couldn't assert that such a thing wouldn't happen. Right this time, didn't he coincidentally meet someone broadcasting and appear on that broadcast? In an era where, in vulgar terms, every Tom, Dick and Harry tries their hand at personal broadcasting, thinking he wouldn't be caught on video would be a judgment that failed to see reality. With privacy protection mode, a mask covers the face, so isn't it okay? No. Your fighting style is unique, so there's no way it won't be obvious. There's no style that fights without using supernatural abilities like you even among pros. Plus your name is already known. Jong Naeon said decisively. It wasn't particularly an exaggerated story. Even she, who had made Reverse Planet her main content for several years, had never seen a combat style like Baek Woo-hyun's. In a game where the main combat method is supernatural abilities, to not use supernatural abilities at all and only raise physical abilities to beat everyone up. It couldn't help but be considered unique. Even these days, even if you hide your identity, they reveal everything through your build and habits shown when fighting. They even found all the sub-accounts that pro players had hidden that way. Persistent. Of course, if you're really thinking of completely ignoring everything, this doesn't matter either. Even if they find out, if you don't care, it'll be a wasted effort. Oh right, did you get any contact from that person? The person who was hosting the broadcast you appeared on. Was it Kang Soil? I did. The Cocoa Talk messages piled up over 300 that he saw as soon as he woke up. Among them, some were things sent from Kang Soil's side. She seemed to have grasped the controversy that started from dawn almost immediately, and regarding the relevant matter, offered an apology along with 2 countermeasures. The first countermeasure was just ignoring it as Baek Woo-hyun had thought. As expected, she also said she didn't recommend it since there would be a lot of noise going forward. The second countermeasure was to clarify actively and definitively, and surprisingly, for this she had brought one method. A method? What is it that you're like that? The moment he heard Jong Naeon's question, Baek Woo-hyun's pupils shone pitch black. Eyes where terribly eerie madness could be felt. Jong Naeon, who suddenly received that gaze head-on, trembled without realizing it. Because fear, as if she was in the same place as a brutal murderer in a horror movie, assaulted her body. Even though it absolutely couldn't be, as if Baek Woo-hyun would immediately raise a knife to slash her throat and be drenched in the spurting blood. Belatedly noticing his mistake by seeing Jong Naeon, Baek Woo-hyun steadied his mind. Even if it was light emotional turmoil for him, it could be felt as a serious threat to others, so he needed to be more careful. Suppressing the emotions boiling up inside, he spoke in a low voice. They said Planet Earth sent an email wanting to personally verify whether I use hacks. From Planet Earth. Crazy, really. Well, that said, it's not the headquarters in America but the Korean branch. In short, it was a story that Planet Earth Korea, not Planet Earth, had contacted him. Planet Earth Korea was merely a Korean company that had been granted authority over Korean server operations from Planet Earth headquarters. The kind of place that didn't even have authority to hold events on their own, let alone game development, and had to inquire with headquarters. Therefore, even if he accepted this proposal, he could safely assume he would absolutely never meet the real developers of Reverse Planet. That's natural. It had only been a few hours since the hack controversy started flaring up, and it was an incident on the Korean server, not the American server. No matter how much it was Planet Earth, reacting that quickly would be impossible. That's amazing. The game company is directly stepping up to verify whether a user is hacking. It'll draw tremendous aggro and be noisy for a while. Unlike the indifferent Baek Woo-hyun, Jong Naeon got extremely excited and started chattering. Having done personal broadcasting for several years, she realized this situation could be a huge opportunity if turned around. Of course, the precondition that the hack controversy clarification had to go well was attached. If Planet Earth Korea directly proves it, game over. What more needs to be said? A situation already boiling hot just from the hack controversy following the challenge. If you pour Planet Earth on top of this, even if it's the Korean branch, what would happen? She'd bet that at minimum for a week, Baek Woo-hyun's name would ceaselessly go up and down the communities. Perhaps, it might go even longer. I'm jealous. And what that meant was that if Baek Woo-hyun chose clarification, Kang Soil could greatly pull up recognition, an important element for personal broadcasters. And that in a good way, not bad. For personal broadcasters where attention directly connects to profit, there couldn't be better good news. Enough that it wouldn't be strange for Jong Naeon to be jealous about why the opportunity went over there when clearly she was the one who made the broadcast promise first. For now, I think it's better to go with the second option. However, being envious and thinking for a friend were separate matters. Jong Naeon made a cool judgment and opened her mouth. There's no reason to refuse when the game company will give you a certification mark that you're not a hacker. Plus, the bigger the topic, the more widely that news will spread. I see. And this is a bit of unpleasant talk, but if you choose to just ignore it rather than a clarification broadcast, Kang Soil's broadcast will also take considerable damage. Why? She and I have no relationship. At Baek Woo-hyun's question, his eyes slightly widened. Jong Naeon shook her head. Would that matter to the people making a fuss about the hack controversy now? At first they'll only curse you, but if you don't react, the arrows will quickly turn toward her? She'd bet backstories would continue coming out saying she aimed for noise marketing by calling in and featuring a hacker. Since Jong Naeon actively participated in various communities and called herself a community spectre, she could be certain about this much. Baek Woo-hyun recalled Kang Soil. Her who somehow resembled that girl who was like a younger sister he met at the research facility. If he chose to ignore it to make himself comfortable and she would be harmed, did he need to pick such a choice? It was just one broadcast appearance anyway, wasn't it? Moreover, if later you change your mind and want to broadcast, or appear on my broadcast, you should definitely go with the second option. Right. Baek Woo-hyun looked at Jong Naeon with narrowed eyes. As if gauging her who was revealing her desires so blatantly it was beyond calling it subtle. Receiving that gaze, Jong Naeon grinned slyly. ******. Meanwhile, around that time at the Planet Earth Korea building. Team leader. A reply came to the email we sent earlier about hack verification. He says he'll accept. Really? At his subordinate's report, team leader Park Gyum-hyun of Operations Team 1 pushed up his thick horn-rimmed glasses. An action he invariably did when thinking deeply about something. However, he soon shook his head with a complexion worn by fatigue. Because his head wasn't working well. It was understandable since he had been working overtime consecutively for days. Exhaling deeply, he opened his mouth. He agreed to the condition of showing it on broadcast too, right? Well, since he's the one in trouble, there'd be no reason to refuse. Yes, he accepted including that part. But why are you going so far as to appear on broadcast, team leader? If you conduct confirmation behind the scenes for something like this, only backbiting comes out. Rather, it's better to go on broadcast and just verify while showing it openly. Park Geum-hyen continued while massaging his throbbing temples. But who was it? Baek Woo-hyun? Are you sure nothing came up when you tore through that person's logs? Yes, that's correct. Just in case, we checked everything from character creation, but there were no modification records by external programs at all. The subordinate employee, who confirmed the investigation records again, asked with a tilted head. Looking at how we tore through all the logs and there's nothing, it's definitely not a hack, so do we need to verify it by even going on a personal broadcast? Couldn't we just appropriately announce it's not? If we appropriately announce it's not and post results on the official site, would the people making a fuss now believe it? I don't think they'd believe it. Right, they won't believe it. So that's why we're going so far as to appear on a personal broadcast to let them directly see the verification. To firmly nail it down. And while at it, show that we're working. I see. I understand. Well, that aside. Team leader Park Geum-hyen let out a hollow laugh. If nothing came up even tearing through the logs, that means that's just skill. I don't really believe it either, but that's what the investigation results show. Unless it's a hack with extremely low probability that we haven't discovered. Well, that's why we bothered putting in a verification cooperation request. In the hologram screen filling one wall, Baek Woo-hyun was rampaging like crazy. And that with the insane method of evading right before shooting a gun. It was a sight even team leader Park Geum-hyen, who had joined Planet Earth Korea and risen to the position of Operations Team 1 leader, was seeing for the first time. If it's not a hack, that's a real crazy bastard. An utterly crazy bastard. Crazy bastard. Really, there were no other words to say. Probably anyone, not just team leader Park Geum-hyen, would be the same. That's why with just one broadcast appearance he overturned the entire community. So team leader. When will we get off work today around dash? I don't know either, you bastard. Team leader please. If it's overtime until today, it's already been 3 weeks. Park Geum-hyen ignored the subordinate grumbling beside him and gazed intently at Baek Woo-hyun's video. At that appearance where the color reversed inverted eyes shone eerily. Chapter 16, Clarification Broadcast. For days had already passed since the hack controversy began burning up all the communities. However, despite time passing, the community showed no signs of calming down. Rather, as if oil had been poured on them, they only blazed more fiercely. Generally, no matter how big a controversy was, it would be reasonably extinguished after about 4 days, yet this was happening. Of course, there was a reason for it. A controversy calming down only happens when the subject quietly goes into hiding. When the subject pours oil by announcing they'll appear on a clarification broadcast, it was natural for the flames to intensify. Just like Kang Soil did this time. Notice, we'll conduct hack controversy clarification broadcast. After finishing talking with Baek Woo-hyun, Kang Soil immediately posted a clarification broadcast announcement on her broadcast channel as soon as she coordinated the schedule with Planet Earth. In case the controversy died down and the reaction was weak, she poured oil at the moment it was blazing most fiercely. The flames grew as she had hoped, and time passed like that. The announced broadcast date arrived. Oh right, did you read the script I sent you? Around 10 minutes before the broadcast started. Kang Soil asked as if suddenly remembering. At her question, Baek Woo-hyun recalled the Word file he had received from her through Cocoa Talk. Containing 3 A4 pages worth of content. Yes, I read it. Since there was nothing particularly difficult to understand, it didn't take long to read. Enough to read it all in less than 5 minutes. The problem was, I did read it but there were quite a lot of blank parts in the script. Why is that? The content itself had holes throughout. Just enough to grasp the overall progression. Thanks to that he could read it quickly, but it was also true that looking at the content made him tilt his head. Thinking, is this enough? Aha! That's because, due to the nature of personal broadcasting, the script has no choice but to be like that. Is that so? Yes. Since we can communicate with viewers, it doesn't progress entirely according to script. Unless you completely ignore donations and chat, but... Kang Soil shrugged as if it was impossible. Well, chat aside, there was no way she could ignore donations, the main source of income. It meant she had to react somehow, which made it absolutely impossible to proceed entirely according to script. Think about it. What would happen if donations and chat were enthusiastically talking about the previous game, but she moved quickly to the next game saying she'd proceed according to script? It would have the adverse effect of cutting off the flow and killing the atmosphere. In that case, it would be worse than having no script at all. Baek Woo-hyun, who realized why she gave him a script full of holes, bobbed his head. The script is just something I sent for you to reference since this is how I plan to proceed with the broadcast, and Woo-hyun can just do as you like. As I like. As long as you don't use excessively harsh profanity or suggestive actions, it's fine. Since it's a personal broadcast, there aren't strict standards or anything. I can cover for any minor verbal mistakes. Kang Soil, who added this, grinned as if telling him to just trust her. For Baek Woo-hyun, who had lived a life completely unrelated to personal broadcasting, it was a fairly grateful story. While he had chosen the clarification broadcast proposal because he had his own plans, he had no intention of ruining her broadcast. However, yes. Please speak. I suddenly became curious, but Soilsai doesn't seem to think at all that I used hacks. May I ask why? At Baek Woo-hyun's question, Kang Soil's eyes widened. Come to think of it, that was certainly true. For some reason, she was completely excluding the possibility that Baek Woo-hyun used hacks. Not consciously thinking I should believe, but subconsciously concluding that there was no way he used hacks. Belatedly realizing that fact, she tilted her head. Why did I think that way? A moment of contemplation. The answer came faster than expected. Eyes? Right, that's it. Because of the eyes. What momentarily flashed through Kang Soil's mind was the scene when she first met Baek Woo-hyun. That moment when she faced those dully clouded inverted eyes. Pure white and dead, pupils flickering only with madness and murderous intent, what had she thought seeing those eyes? How could anyone think of Hack seeing those eyes? Eyes, you say? When Baek Woo-hyun asked back after hearing her inadvertent mutter, Kang Soil made an "oops" expression. Unless she wanted to give the insane answer because your eyes were like a crazy murderer's, I didn't even think of hacks, she needed to quickly think of an excuse. Her head spun faster than ever before. Naturally, an answer that could salvage the situation didn't come easily. Seeing Baek Woo-hyun tilt his head at the lengthening silence, Kang Soil's mouth moved on its own. Because your eyes were sincere. That's why I believed you. Baek Woo-hyun's expression became strange. An expression as if it was an answer he hadn't expected at all, and it actually did contain that meaning. Because eyes being sincere was something he was hearing for the first time in his life, including that other world. However, he soon returned to an indifferent face. In any case, it was a sufficient answer to resolve minor curiosity. It wasn't an important issue either. I see. Yes, that's it. What do you mean that's it, Kang Soil, you crazy bitch dash? As the two people's conversation somehow wrapped up, the scheduled broadcast time was approaching. Kang Soil, who lightly clapped her hands a couple times, said, Then I'll start the broadcast now. Woo-hyun, please stay away for a moment as written in the script, and when I give the signal, come over here. Yes, understood. Baek Woo-hyun moved to a spot a few steps away. It was that position that doesn't appear on broadcast that Kang Soil had informed him of in advance. Now he would wait here briefly, then when he received the signal, walk into view beside Kang Soil. Phew dash. Good. Let's go. Kang Soil, who briefly checked on Baek Woo-hyun, pressed the broadcast start button. Now she just needed to wait for those who had followed her broadcast to see the start notification and come. In about 5 minutes, around 1,000 people would gather, and around then she could switch screens and properly proceed with the broadcast. Let's go tilde 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 let's go tilde. Clarify 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 clarify. Is this the broadcast selling hacks? Really don't know. Very festive atmosphere. Is it a festival? No, it's a funeral. Very festive atmosphere. Is it a festival? No, it's a funeral. Hacker out. Hacker out. Hacker out. Hacker out. Hacker out. Hacker out! Hacker out! But it didn't take very long to realize how naive that thought was. Surprisingly, when barely over a minute had passed since Kang Soil turned on the broadcast, the viewer count was already exceeding 6,000. Considering the fact that the average viewer count watching her broadcast was usually 2,000 to 3,000, it meant over twice that number had rushed in at once. Even this wasn't enough, and the viewer count was rapidly rising in real time. What more needed to be said when she had already broken the 10,000 mark while she was inwardly clicking her tongue, not having expected such a hot response? If given more time, 15,000, perhaps even 20,000 seemed easily achievable. I didn't know I'd renew my broadcast's highest viewer count record like this. Kang Soil's past highest broadcast viewer count was 6,000. This was even a record set when she co-streamed with a broadcaster commonly called Major Corporations, and when alone she had only reached a maximum of 4,000. But now, before the broadcast even started, she had hit the highest viewer count, and in that brief time it increased further, so nearly 8,000 viewers had come in and were waiting. The record renewed by such an excessively large margin was absurd enough to make her laugh hollowly. Of course, that didn't mean it was a bad thing. If she had no way to handle it, she would have been anxious not knowing what to do, but now she had the solid card called O Planet Earth career prepared. Rather, a kind of anticipation was even rising in her heart. In any case, it means I'm receiving tremendous attention, so if I lead this well, the content's success is certain. Even if only half of these remained, that's 5,000, and even if that got cut in half again, that's 2,500. Meaning average viewer count would skyrocket by double. Kang Soil clenched her fist and steeled her will. I can't miss this opportunity. Yes, hello everyone. Good morning. Hakahawaha 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 hakahawaha. Hakiho. 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 What happened? Why is chat like this? What the fuck, spam is insane. Could you sell me just one hack, please? Could you sell me just one hack, please? Could you sell me just one hack, please? Finally, as it switched from the waiting screen to the broadcast screen, the chat window began heating up like crazy. What more needed to be said when hundreds of chats were uploaded at once per second, so much that even veteran broadcaster Kang Soil couldn't read them at all. Fed up with the spam continuing ceaselessly and crazily enough to make the broadcast program itself lag, Kang Soil firmly declared, chat is too fast and even causing lag. I'm sorry, but I'll activate slow mode. Finally, only after activating slow mode, a state where after sending one chat, you can only chat again after a certain time passes, did the chat window become somewhat calmer. That said, it just meant those who had been spamming like crazy decreased, and the fact that the chat window was scrolling up at tremendous speed hadn't changed. Well, thinking about it, even if 10,000 people chatted just once each, over 10,000 chats would go up, so it couldn't be helped. Moreover, these people were even burning with their own righteous cause of destroying the broadcast where a hacker brazenly shows their face. If I hadn't blocked donations from appearing in advance, it would have been worse than this, right? At least that's fortunate. Kang Soil, who inwardly sighed in relief, spoke in a more composed tone than usual. An incredibly large number of people have come to my broadcast. Thank you. The reason is naturally because of the hack controversy that's become a hot topic recently, right? So when will the hacker get banned? Implement justice, let's go. I did come after seeing that post. But why is chat like this when this person isn't even a hacker? I was thinking that too while watching, really dizzying. I also read posts about the hack controversy. From the first post claiming hack suspicions, to the posts after, all of them. But you know what, everyone. Kang Soil looked straight at the camera in front. Her two eyes shone clearly and firmly. To be honest, no matter how much I read them, I couldn't understand those posts. There's not a single piece of evidence put forth while driving toward hacking, they're just claiming it's a hack because the physicality is too amazing. Dash? Is she defending a hacker right now? What hack are you shielding, lololol? So how much are you selling hacks for? Dash, one more person falling to hell tilde. At Kang Soil's words blatantly confronting them, the chat window heated up hotly. Chats poured out at a speed hard to think of as slow mode. Most were criticism toward Kang Soil. Among them were even raw profanities. Even though the broadcast manager and chatbot were diligently cutting chats that crossed the line. However, Kang Soil didn't care at all about the chats tearing into her, because she had expected such a reaction would return even before opening her mouth. How could she, who had continued personal broadcasting for years, not even guess the result of pouring oil on burning viewers? Thus she continued speaking calmly throughout. Normally, malicious rumors full of malice created only through speculation without evidence are called malicious rumors. Like this hack controversy. Malicious rumors lol bullshit lololol. Give me a break fuck. We all know it's noise marketing tilde. Dash? Not wrong though. It's all circumstantial evidence, right? Reported broadcast for defending hacks. Then I'll ask everyone. Is there anyone here who has solid evidence that Woohyun used hacks? Not speculation that it seems that way circumstantially, but evidence that can definitively conclude it's a hack. Of course, there was no way such evidence existed. Because all the combat Baek Woohyun showed on broadcast was accomplished entirely through his skill. When even the start of driving him as a hacker was a post entirely thrown together with only speculation, how could those incited by it have proper evidence? Chapter 17, Fury. However, such clear facts weren't very important to those who had come this far. Because what they needed was only something they could curse at. That's why they didn't answer the question and only repeated brainless spam like falling to hell or hacker out or the hack defending broadcast. Few dash. Kang Soil, who glanced at the chat window, sighed as if she knew this would happen. You won't believe just verbal clarification, right? So to prove it's not a hack, I invited Woohyun back on the broadcast. Woohyun, please come out. As the promised signal came out, Baek Woohyun slowly walked into the broadcast screen. Needless to say, the chat window blazed even more fiercely when he appeared on broadcast. Not only fierce criticism like hacker or whatnot, but also personal attacks related to appearance were randomly poured out even though he wore a mask due to privacy protection mode. It was such an intense reaction that one would think the chat window would have 100% exploded if it had been normal mode instead of slow mode. Fucking look at that shameless hacker bastard lololol. He comes out? Really thick-skinned. What is planet Earth doing tilde? Why aren't they banning him tilde? What's fun about playing games using hacks? Fucking vermin hacker bastard is so shameless. Ah, this is a bit. Kang Soil made a disgusted expression at the raw profanities and criticism pouring out ceaselessly. She had deliberately called Baek Woohyun first without talking about the proof method for dramatic reversal effect, but the reaction was rougher than expected. If Baek Woohyun just had the thought, he could easily sue dozens of people in the chat window. I hope he's not too angry seeing this. Kang Soil subtly gauged Baek Woohyun's mood. If by any chance he showed displeasure, she was thinking of setting it to emoticon chat only. Because not offending him was more important than clarifying while communicating. But Baek Woohyun's actual expression was extremely calm. Even though he was clearly looking at all sorts of malicious chats, it was a face where no anger could be felt at all. As if such things had no value to him. Somewhat relieved by that, Kang Soil faced forward and shouted loudly. And to prove it's not a hack. The team leader of Operations Team 1 from Planet Earth Korea will be coming soon. Dash? Who from where? Did I hear wrong? What did she just say? Did she really say the Planet Earth Korea Operations Team leader is coming? Why would an operator come on a personal broadcast? At Kang Soil's shocking announcement, the viewers fell into confusion. Because even those who had been recklessly throwing out criticism and profanity couldn't help but react to the words that Operations Team 1 leader from Planet Earth Korea was coming. Well, who could have expected Planet Earth Korea to appear on an individual personal broadcast? Fuck lololol Planet Earth Korea lololol. To prove it's not a hack they just call an operator? Lololololol. Hack parrots group shut up lololol. Good thing I stayed neutral. There's a personal broadcast summoning operators pew pew. Hack parrot out. 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 The chat window, which had stopped for a moment as if lagged, soon began explosively pouring out all sorts of chats more than ever before. It was a speed that made one's mind hazy watching it. As if shouting slow mode? What's that? Is it edible? At the dozens of chats pouring out per second, Kang Soil completely gave up reading and turned her eyes away. Thinking it was impressive the chat window was holding up. And there was one number that entered her eyes like that. Wow, the viewer count exceeded 30,000. At a number where she couldn't even feel reality anymore, Kang Soil admired blankly. When it was 10,000 or 20,000, she could still somewhat grasp it, but a number far exceeding 30,000 only made her laugh. Being at this level, it could boast frenzied chat speed even in slow mode. She smiled faintly and looked forward again. Do you understand now why I called it a malicious rumor? Soil Sai and Wuhian Nim plan to definitively prove through this broadcast that it's not a hack, but I'm curious what those who claim it's a hack will do. Operator certification is lololol. Prove it first then talk happy smiley. Lots of people will go delete posts when it's revealed it's not a hack lol. While at it, sue those who crossed the line too. The public opinion in the hotly boiling chat window had already flipped. Because the momentum of those claiming it was a hack, in other words, those hack parrots, had completely died before the ultra-strong move of summoning an operator that Kang Soil pulled out. Thinking logically, if it really was a hack, there would be no reason to call even a Planet Earth Korea representative to attempt verification. Hack verification content is also new lololol. Minus 5,252 I was believing tilde. I watched it all live and I thought it wasn't a hack. What's the verification method? I was informed the verification method will be watching combat to check if there's assistance from external programs like hacks. That's why Wuhian Nim appeared on my broadcast again. Right. That's correct. Oh, come to think of it, what do you think about this hack controversy, Wuhian Nim? Your physicality was so amazing you were suspected of hacking, do you have anything to say about that? Well, just. At Kang Soil's question, Baek Woohyun chuckled. A sneer lifting only one corner of his mouth. It was a sneer viewers couldn't properly see due to privacy protection mode, but there was an emotion thickly oozing from his tone. Even if covered by a mask, the blatantly revealed emotion was clearly conveyed. I think it's absurd. That even something like this becomes a controversy. Something like this. Overturning reverse time is just the lololol. Fuck, that sneering is annoying. Is this a Coliseum ranker? Wow. Tremendous confidence. Confidence, should I call it that? To me this is just natural. That's right. At least you firmly stated that a controversy involving tens of thousands is something like this. Baek Woohyun tilted his head. An action as if he couldn't understand at all. Of course, he wasn't really thinking that way. He was just following the script for the image making he had discussed with Kang Soil before the broadcast. In fact, thinking about it, his true feelings could also be summarized as worthless, so it didn't seem particularly different, but in any case. As the two people chatted like that for a few minutes, Kang Soil, who subtly checked the time, brought it up. By the way, it's about time for the operations team leader to come. Ah, you're here just in time. Discovering a cluster of light forming in the air, Kang Soil quickly adjusted the broadcast screen. Thanks to that, viewers could see a man in a neat suit walking out from the pale cluster of light. The GM title was shining proudly above the appearing man's head, which made the hack parrots that still remained let out sighs. Because the GM title could only be used by operators authorized by headquarters to prevent in-game operator impersonation scams. In other words, that alone was as good as the man proving to everyone that he was a real operator. For those who were ready to drive him as not an operator if anything happened, it was a result that completely deflated them, so they couldn't help but lose strength. Hello, Kang Soil Nim. Baek Woohyun Nim. The man wearing thick horn-rimmed glasses, Park Gyum-hyun, spoke with a faint smile. I'm Park Gyum-hyun, Operations Team 1 leader of Planet Earth Korea, as I contacted you earlier. Nice to meet you. Yes, nice to meet you, Operations Team Leader Park Gyum-hyun. Nice to meet you. Wow, lol, a real operator came lol. Today's broadcast is legendary lolololol. Fuck, does the Operations Team Leader have nothing to do? Why appear on a hacker's broadcast? To stop kids like you from talking shit here. The three people shaking hands in turn. As the atmosphere was roughly organized, Kang Soil naturally proceeded with the conversation. You came directly like this to verify, so could we briefly hear how Planet Earth Korea currently judges this hack controversy? Of course. Park Gyum-hyun pushed up his thick horn-rimmed glasses. First, to tell you the conclusion, we are fairly certain that user Baek Woohyun did not use external programs. Is that so? Yes. This is a conclusion reached after immediately conducting precise inspections of user Baek Woohyun's log several times right after encountering the relevant controversy. Park Gyum-hyun, who asserted they couldn't find any traces of external programs in Baek Woo-hyun's logs, continued speaking. Yet we requested this verification process to prepare for any possible situation. Because there's a very slim possibility of external programs appearing that can't be detected simply through logs. It's just preparing for what IFS. That's correct. At the point you accepted the verification request, we're already seeing it as almost not the case, but I came out thinking the user might be troubled by this unpleasant controversy. Translation, came out to wipe out hack parrots. It's not a hack, so stop making a fuss, tilde. Where did all the hack parrots that were so many earlier go? I'm watching retime and hot posts keep disappearing right now, lol, so funny lololol. Now we'll move locations for verification. Is that alright, you two? It's fine. Yes, let's do that. Hearing the two people's answers, Park Gyum-hyun smiled faintly again and snapped his fingers. The surrounding scenery changing with a snap. Sound. The forest clearing where the three people had originally been standing was swept away by bright light and disappeared in an instant. This place is... Baek Woo-hyun slowly looked around. It was a spacious room surrounded by grey ceiling and walls. Somehow reminiscent of research facility interior facilities. However, one difference was that this place was several times wider than commonly seen research facility interiors. Even just the ceiling looked over 10 meters high, and the area was almost the size of a soccer field. It's a personal training room. A place where you can practice using supernatural abilities or conduct combat training. Park Gyum-hyun explained about the changed location while ceaselessly moving his hands. Accordingly, semi-transparent blue system windows appeared and disappeared in succession, clearly showing in various ways that he was working. After fiddling with something for about 3 minutes like that, he soon turned his gaze toward Baek Woo-hyun and Kang Soil again. I'll enter the formal external program usage verification procedure, but you don't need to be too nervous. Even though it's called verification, in the end it's just fighting a combat training bot. Understood? Then first. Kwang. An object that formed from empty air fell to the floor, making a heavy impact sound. A pure white shell drawing smooth curves, a form somehow reminiscent of humans, and even red light quietly gazing this way. Baek Woo-hyun's eyes narrowed, seeing it slowly rise. Etinel. And a mid-version one that had undergone some improvements. Having combat intelligence so developed it was hard to even compare with the early version he had faced before. I'll start with an intermediate combat training bot. Roughly got it? Kill each other from now on. This is strange, I think I've seen this somewhere. Tutorial first battle. But now with an operator added. No assist and a build with only the first core element picked against intermediate training bot. Can he win? Keying. The two red lights shining from the Etinel's head part trembled, making a strange sound. An appearance as if it was looking this way and shining its eyes. Baek Woo-hyun looked at the Etinel with heavily sunken eyes. His two eyes had already become inverted eyes with black and white reversed. He had drawn up the power of perfect being without a sound. Not only that, but his body was also in a tense state, ready to react at any time. He knew the danger of mid-version Etinels better than anyone in this world, and therefore not even a trace of carelessness existed in him. That's why in the next moment he could react to the Etinel rushing at him. Swish dash. Distance suddenly shrinking sharply. Simultaneously a sharp strike flying in. A straight punch so strong and fierce it was pointless to compare with the early version aimed at Baek Woo-hyun's head. If he allowed the hit like this, he would surely suffer tremendous damage. As long as he allowed the hit, that is. There was no way Baek Woo-hyun, who had already prepared, would quietly offer his head. Like during the previous tutorial, he strode toward the Etinel to meet it and twisted his body at an exquisite moment. It was evasion at such a dizzying timing that those watching from behind would think he definitely got hit. But in any case he evaded, and the Etinel's fist merely grazed his cheek. Not yet. Chapter 18, 3-second kill. Even though he'd narrowly dodged the first attack by a hair's breadth, Baek Woo-hyun didn't immediately counterattack. If this had been the early version, simply evading that one strike would have been enough, but the mid-version Etinel he was facing now was different. He knew this was a time to hold back. Whoong. Sure enough, the situation unfolded exactly as Baek Woo-hyun had anticipated. The moment Etinel realized its attack had failed to inflict any damage, it reacted instantly. Bending the arm it had thrust out, it followed up with an elbow strike aimed at his head, the attack flowing like water. A chain attack that connected so naturally it seemed like a single motion. If he'd gotten excited after dodging once and recklessly attempted a counterattack, he would have been caught by the follow-up attack without fail. However, Baek Woo-hyun, who had been on guard, waited for his moment instead of attempting a counterattack. Which meant there was absolutely no reason for him to get hit. His eyes gleamed fiercely as he twisted his body again to evade even the elbow strike. Like a predator that had finally caught its opportunity after waiting. He reversed his half-twisted body back to its original position and thrust out his fist. Kwong! A sharp blow that left no room for reaction. His fist landed precisely on Etanel's head, crushing its face along with its white shell. This result was achieved not just through Baek Woo-hyun's strength alone, but by using Etanel's charging momentum against it. Etanel staggered back from the heavy impact. Naturally, Baek Woo-hyun wasn't one to simply let such an opening pass. His fist shot forward as he closed the distance in an instant. With a quajik sound, the external skeleton shattered and the exposed internal circuits were crushed. That ended the battle. Etanel, its head completely destroyed, could no longer hold on and collapsed as if sitting down. Times woe. Times her. Wait, what? What the? The time it took to reach this point was barely a few seconds. The battle ended far too quickly, and far too perfectly. Even the noisy chat window fell silent for just a moment at the bewildering conclusion. Kang Soil and Park Gyum-hyun, who had witnessed all of this firsthand, could only blink without saying a word. Times. Of course, neither of them had thought Baek Woo-hyun would lose to a mere intermediate training bot. What he'd shown in his previous broadcast had been that overwhelming. But who could have predicted he'd completely finish off an intermediate training bot in just a few seconds? The 35,000 viewers watching the stream were equally flustered. The chat window, which had only briefly expelled short exclamations, soon began pouring out countless reactions. 3-second kill, what the hell? Intermediate training bot is so easy with no buffs, lol. Not even early version but mid version can't last a few seconds, does that make sense? Fuck. WTF did I just watch? Perfect being was really a broken element, lol. The viewers here were serious about Reverse Planet enough to have come all the way to Kang Soil's stream after seeing the hack controversy that had become a hot topic in the community. Therefore, most of them had experience directly fighting mid-version Etanel, and knew well how strong it was, which made their confusion even greater. Because the mid-version Etanel they had experienced was absolutely not an enemy that could be defeated in just a few seconds like this. Especially not in close combat without using guns or supernatural abilities. But this isn't a hack, lol. I'd rather you just tell me it's a hack times. First time feeling a wall from watching a stream. We're both human, so why am I so different from him? Why am I the only one who sucks? It's done. Whether the viewers were confused or not, Baek Woo-hyun looked at Kang Soil and Park Gyum-hyun with an indifferent expression. His attitude suggested this was nothing particularly impressive, and in fact, that's exactly what he thought. For him, who had effortlessly fought his way through swarms of even stronger Etanels, this level was truly nothing special. No matter how much weaker he'd become compared to when he was in that other world, losing to a mere mid-version Etanel would leave him with no face to show his comrades. Has the verification been completed? Well, we didn't detect any external program usage during this battle times, but the verification time was far too short. Park Gyum-hyun said with a bitter smile. It was obvious what people would say if they later submitted a 3-second verification record to the official website. They needed material that confirmed the use or non-use of external programs over a longer battle duration. Plus, one-show verification as well. If Baek Woo-hyun permits, I'd like to conduct the verification a bit longer. Would that be all right? Yes, that's fine. It's not particularly difficult. Thank you. Then this time, please fight against an intermediate training bot the same way, but could you win using the method we specify? A specified method. Baek Woo-hyun tilted his head and asked. Roughly what kind of approach should I take? For example, if we specify a destroy in the order of right arm, left arm, head and win, you just need to win exactly that way. Ah. To prove it's not an auto-battle hack, right? Yes, that's correct. Kang Soil sigh. Park Gyum-hyun nodded in affirmation at Kang Soil's interjection from the side. Since auto-battle hacks were basically proxy control methods by programs, the type of combat the hack user desired was impossible. So simply deciding how to win before the battle and then fighting and winning according to that would prove it wasn't an auto-battle hack. However, what he didn't mention was that the logs visible to him already clearly showed whether it was an auto-battle hack or not. Meaning there was no need to go through this troublesome process just to prove it wasn't an auto-battle hack. Yet the reason he chose this process was simple. Rather than explaining the logs to the viewers one by one, just having one battle like this will be much easier for them to understand. Isn't it commonly said that seeing once is better than hearing 100 times? Rather than explaining 100 times while dissecting logs about why it's an auto-battle hack, it was obviously better to just show them one battle with their own eyes. Oh, then can I specify it? There was actually something I wanted to see. Kang Soilsai cannot. Ooh? Why not? So firm lol firm persimmon. Of course not. Me. Pick me. Open donations plzzz. Kang Soil's eyes widened at the rejection without a moment's hesitation. Well, because people might say we staged it or whatever. That'll come up even if you pick one viewer's opinion, won't it? And it'll be the same even if we do it Team Leader Nim's way. People who won't believe it that far just won't believe anything anyway. That's certainly true. Once you see the method I specify, not only will the auto-battle hack thing be clear, but those comments won't even come up. At Kang Soil's strong insistence, Park Gyum-hyun shrugged his shoulders as if he had no choice. Her words certainly had a point. Plus, he'd become somewhat curious about the battle method she wanted to see. Chain scythe. Win with the chain scythe. Cut off the right arm then the head. Chain scythe? Olol seeing that again lol. True, if it's chain scythe it can't be auto-battle hack. Asking him to cut arm then head times how brutal times. Chain times scythe. Yes. Chain scythe. Park Gyum-hyun, who had unconsciously asked again, looked at Baek Woo-hyun with a strange gaze. While the chain scythe was certainly a weapon that existed in reality, he was surprised that there was someone who actually used it. Especially since using a chain scythe as a weapon in combat with no buffs meant he had to handle it at a similar level in reality as well. Just what is this person's identity? Understood. Whether he knew Park Gyum-hyun's thoughts or not, Baek Woo-hyun calmly nodded. Soon, gripping the chain scythe that had been hanging at his waist, he began spinning the blade part in circles using his wrist strength while holding the chain. Hoong, the sound of air being torn briefly rang out. Baek Woo-hyun looked at Park Gyum-hyun with a gaze full of puzzlement. Aren't you going to summon it? Ah. Yes. I'll summon it right now. As Park Gyum-hyun's fingers, which had been spacing out, rapidly moved through the air, Etinel appeared from the void. Just like before, Etinel activated its red main sensors with a cawing sound. However, this time, it was Baek Woo-hyun who struck first. Swake! The scythe Baek Woo-hyun had been spinning shot through the air toward Etinel. Since he'd been spinning it with superhuman strength and thrown it with equally superhuman strength, its speed was truly tremendous. Enough to give the conviction that an earlier version Etinel wouldn't have even been able to react before being torn apart. Times that is, if it had been an earlier version Etinel. Jong! The mid-version Etinel was clearly an improved version of the earlier version Etinel. Enough to deflect the chain scythe rushing toward it at tremendous speed. However, that seemed to be its limit as it staggered back rather than counter-attacking. Hup! Baek Woo-hyun wouldn't leave such an opening alone. He swung the chain like a whip. Then the deflected scythe moved as if alive. It struck at Etinel again, drawing a strange trajectory. At the same time, he kicked off the ground hard and charged forward. To easily close the distance while keeping it in check through the chain scythe. Yo, what was that? How did the scythe just move like that? Crazy, I'm more curious about that than auto battle or whatever. For real lol, who cares about hacks right now? The gene email of chain scythes is right before our eyes. Jong! Baek Woo-hyun's intention worked precisely. Etinel allowed his approach defenseless while deflecting the scythe striking at it again. Or perhaps it deliberately allowed it. Kying! Its two main sensors glowed red, identifying the enemy that had reached close range. Those who saw this realized. It hadn't failed to stop him, it hadn't stopped him. Because only when he came close could it seize an opportunity. As if to prove their thoughts correct, Etenel naturally straightened its posture and thrust out its fist. Ah! Did she feel they'd been caught by the law strategy without escape? Kang Soil inadvertently cried out in surprise. Of course, the situation didn't unfold as she'd anticipated. Chwera Rook! As Baek Woohyun stepped back, the chain he threw wrapped around Etenel's arm. Then, as he gripped the opposite end of the chain and pulled, Etenel's confident counterattack missed futilely and easily. And into the opening thus exposed, the scythe descended like lightning. Baek Woohyun, who had pulled the chain, had somehow also caught the deflected scythe and swung it. Seogeok! Etenel couldn't evade this surprise attack. Its right arm, bound by the chain, was helplessly severed and fell, and the battle effectively ended there. Baek Woohyun was far too strong for a mid-version Etenel missing one arm to resist. Seogeok! He threw the chain to bind and stop its movement, then swung the scythe again to cut off its head, ending the battle. Right arm followed by head, exactly the method Kang Soil had specified. Few times. What did I just watch? Chain scythe is such a broken weapon. Nope tilde if you beat it with fists it's a 5-second kill tilde. Using a weapon makes you weaker? LOL. Where? See, I didn't see wrong back then. You all saw how the chain scythe moved like it was alive, swish swish, right? Times haha. I think I understand why you said the auto battle hack talk wouldn't come up. Right? Right. Kang Soil shouted excitedly, and Park Gyum-hyan shook his head. Even he himself had just watched the battle in a daze rather than watching to see if it was an auto battle hack or not, so it was understandable. Well, who wouldn't have done the same? A battle using a chain scythe, no less.